First of all, blah, 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 blah. So, by Mr. Shulm's reasoning, Mr. Bennett came in here in order to apply for a job so he could dig down through the floor. Yes, in an attempt to tunnel into the sewers to gain access to the money in the vault of the bank across the road. But he wouldn't get very far with a broken shovel, would he? No, I think it's fair to say that his motives lie elsewhere. The question is where? What did bring Mr. Benedict here at this particular point in time? Probably the cane? Stylish hat.
It probably is the cane, because
Oh,
those
hold
aren't
on.
his initials.
I think it's the scribbled writing. Yeah, there's nothing... I can't do anything there just yet. Is that a kitty cat? Do you see that? I don't know, it's hard to tell. Alright, let's do the scribbled writing.
Take that!
Yeah, I probably have to look at it first now that I think about it. Nope. This is my show, Mr. Naruto. Kindly perform any peculiar experiments on your own stage. Okay. Suppose you're right. I still think it's the writing. What? That's a cute little picture of Gina. Oh, look at those scribbled notes on the back of the flyer here. I don't believe it. What is it? Listen to what it says. Name, Gina Lestrade, height 5'2", green cap, scruffy waistcoat, grubby white shirt, blue satchel, ragged. It's a detailed description of Miss Lestrade. Goodness! He's even a sketch of her, hat and all. Although if he showed it to her, she'd fire that smoke grenade launcher in his face for sure. And look, the details of the shop have been written down here too. Windibank's Pawnbrokery, Baker Street. Redemption deadline 15th of April. Oh yeah, we went to Baker Street. Which is today's date. Why would Mr. Benedict have all that information scrawled on the back of that piece of paper? Yeah, there we go.
Take that!
Take that! Yes, what brought you to this shop in the first place? Is the info about Miss Lestrade. Quite so, my dear fellow. It would appear that the writing and sketch on the reverse of the flyer, which I knew all about before, by the way, pertain to the pickpocket Miss Lestrade and Mr. Windibank's pawnbrokery here. Ah. You originally told us that you had merely given chase after Miss Lestrade stole the redemption ticket from you. But that, sir, is a thinly veiled lie. It's the information on the back of the flyer that led you here today, by which I mean here to Windibank's pawnbrokery, and today, the redemption deadline of that overcoat. So you waited outside for the young girl matching the description you have written down to arrive. You have gone to some length to hide the reason for your pursuit of Miss Lestrade. In other words, there is some ulterior motive for your actions. The cane which you unwittingly clutched to your person exhibits an incontrovertible contradiction. What? I've had this cane for years, and I'm saying the same thing as before. Contradiction of which I speak, of course, is the ferrule. What's a ferrule? It's the metal cap commonly found on the end of a cane, Mr. Naruto. Ah, the bit that makes the nice clacking sound on the pavement. Yes, exactly, and Mr. Sholmes is right. It appears to be missing on this cane. But it doesn't actually look broken, does it? No, it doesn't, though the gentleman certainly did recoil when Mr. Sholmes identified the cane as suspicious. In other words, there's some secret about the cane that Mr. Benedict would rather we don't know. Contradiction of which I speak is, of course, the initialing. The initialing is suspicious.
Take that!
Yes. Contradiction of which I speak is, of course, the initialing. Most astute observation, wouldn't you say, Mr. Agate Benedict? We are led to believe, sir, that your initials are EB. Yet in most possessive manner, you have in your grasp a cane bearing the initials AG. An incontrovertible contradiction indeed, would you not agree? No, you're wrong. This cane isn't. I forgot my voice there for a second. Said before that you had that cane for years. So don't try to tell us that you had just borrowed it from a friend or found it from the park. In short. Though you hold yourself to be a gentleman, you have withheld your true name. Ugh! You recoil, sir. Is something wrong? I will,
I'm going to smack you.
I'm going to smack you with my cane. Need you recalling, you advertently facilitate the answer of the next conundrum to present itself. Namely, what the truth behind this rob you bear? Yes, your reaction betrays the truth. The handle which you evidently would like to conceal is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. Let's consider the bare bones of what's happened here. Miss Lestrade redeemed that fine-looking overcoat, and now a mysterious man has appeared, introducing himself with a fake name and claiming that the overcoat belongs to him. We know that he actually identified Miss Lestrade from a written description, which suggests that everything he's told us is untrue. So what we need to do here is somehow prove that the overcoat cannot possibly belong to him. Oh dear. The seam on the shoulder there is coming apart. Look! So it is. Do you know, a moment ago when Mr. Benedict was surprised by something that was said, I thought I heard him make a rather strange noise. It sounded like a tiny growl. Now I think it was probably the sound of the seam ripping open. If you look closely, it does seem to be a rather tight fit. The sleeves are stretched to bursting. You wouldn't have a hope of fastening it in the front. If you were to run around in it, I'm sure the whole thing would fall apart. That I'd like to see. Whoa! That I'd like to see. Sorry? So how can we... No, we're not... Okay. So how can we make Mr. Benedict run around?
Yes, please.
She's really giving this some thought.
I know he's a bad guy, but damn, Daddy. Daddy.
Daddy,
I'm
sorry.
Daddy.
Daddy, sorry.
Daddy. Sorry.
I made that exact joke with Mr. Sholmes last time.
Yeah. Well, now there's two daddies.
The split seam. Ryunosuke's not so much a daddy.
No, not Ryunosuke, but
everything like you
and
can see is the Kitsukita understanding the riddle.
daddies.
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 Sorry, daddies. Yes, because the overcoat is rather obviously a poor fit. Having forced it over your broad shoulders, the seam is already breaking apart. My suspicions were aroused from the outset.
Daddies.
When you so boldly lied about your name and so boldly waylaid this pickpocket. He's a pickpocket of a pickpocket. The catalogue of untruths has been one for the very specific purpose. To steal the article that young girl redeemed from Mr. Winterbank. Arg. But what really irks me is this. The considerable crime I initially imagined has been considerably curtailed. To abscond with a redeemed item. So.
Probably to steal the music box.
Now, Mr. Benedict, let us continue. There's more. Well, miss, we must expose the details of this elaborate crime you have in them planning. This is utterly absurd. Oh, I'm reading that line. You suggest that I, a gentleman, designed a wheeze to filch some tawdry article of pawnage. Have you forgotten that I redeemed the article in the proper manner, using the watchword? Ooh. Ooh. Had I not been the one deposited here in the first place, how could I possibly have known the relevant details? I'm French. Oh, but the watchword can be discovered, as you are the only too well aware, Mr. Benedict. And your furtive glance is more telling than I could have hoped. What? Just consider how one might come to learn a secret watchword relating the pawned property of another. With, council notice. The direction of the deduction must change rather dramatically now, I think. Yes, no more talk of tunneling into the sewers. Which is a pity, because it all sounded rather exciting. Anyway, you can't deny that this mysterious gentleman did know the watchword. Yes, Professor. If you didn't know that word, Mr. Windibank would never allow you to redeem the article. Or looking at it another way, if you did know that word, Mr. Windibank would allow you to redeem the article whether it was yours or not. So the question is, could this gentleman have found the watchword out somehow? Probably. Really? Okay, I could have sworn it was the, that was probably the notelet. Look at this, Mr. Sato. It appears to be a memo that Mr. Windibank has scribbled to himself. Let's see, what does it say? Oh, Professor. Mr. Windibank must have made a note of the watchwords his customers give him right before their eyes. And an alarmingly clear script as well. Oh dear, I don't know where to look. Who knows what other secrets I might see?
Take that!
Your method is revealed by the notelet on the counter to which your eyes were inadvertently drawn. Yes, that's what I was going to say. The broker here follows the same procedure whenever a customer comes to redeem an article. He asks the customer for the watchword and notes down the response on the notelet he has to hand. Then he consults his ledger and confirms whether or not the watchword matches that of the article in question. I would expect nothing less of a diligent pawnbroker. But his diligence clearly has its disadvantages. And what are you talking about? It is increasingly apparent that you were present in this shop before your accusation against Miss Lestrade. Oh. In all likelihood, you followed her inside and then observed her talking to Mr. Windibank. When the diligent broker made a note of the watchword as his common practice, you observed him writing the word. Wouldn't it be easier if he just heard it being said out loud? Anyway. And that, sir, was the master plan you devised to steal the pawned article from the young Miss Lestrade. Master plan. Which brings us, alas, to the final chapter of this lurid scheme. Why would you go to such lengths to redeem that particular article from this pawnbroker? I'm quite serious. For an ill-fitting overcoat hardly seems to justify the effort, much less a worthless music box disc. But naturally, you had very good reason to make them yours, didn't you, Mr. Benedict? I have no idea what you're talking about. Allow me to present a rather interesting piece of evidence. You see, this picture postcard is wrong. The articles we're talking about are the overcoat and the music box disc that was in one of the pockets, which, according to Mr. Windibank, isn't even worth a penny. And yet this man went to such lengths to steal them. Why? I wonder if perhaps we already have the evidence we need to explain it, Mr. Naruto. Could we? Really? I better have a thorough look at all the evidence we've collected so far. All of the evidence. All of the evidence. Oh. Oh, that's interesting.
That's why she gave it to you.
There's a little scrap of paper stuck onto the reverse side of the disc, look. And a scribbled word or two. I can't read it. It's in English. For McGilded. McGilded? It couldn't be. But it is, Mr. Naruto. A name I shall never forget for as long as I live. But why? Why is his name on this? Can I not examine the blood? Oh, no. There it is. Look at all the little bumps on the disc. They're so tiny. Yes, the protrusions are called pins, and they plug the teeth of the comb to make notes. And just on the edge, there's a small amount of blood. Yes, the blood of the mysterious Mr. Eggert Benedict. When Miss Lestrade tried to grab the disc from him, the pins scratched his fingers, it seemed. Like when you're grating some daikon radish and accidentally catch your finger. Ouch. Just thinking about it hurts. Puts me off eating radish.
Take that!
You see, this music box disc tells us all we need to know. And what's that? On the back. It reads, for Mr. McGilded. Ah, Mr. Magnus McGilded, the unfortunate philanthropist who perished in curious circumstances at the Old Bailey 2 months ago.
What if he's not dead?
A prominent man in London, though his lone-mongering demonstrated distinct lack of scruples. So, you're an associate of his, are you? Or perhaps a subordinate? Mr. McGilded was a man of unusually small stature. In fact, he was precisely the right size for that overcoat that you've squeezed yourself into. Ugh. Your true identity remains shrouded in mystery, Mr. Eggert Benedict. The final conclusion here is crystal clear. The reason you came to this pawnbrokery today was to retrieve an article left behind by the late Magnus McGilded. But then, hold on. When was the case?
2 months ago?
Yeah, how, what time, what day specifically? I'm gonna look this up.
Now remember, you can extend the date too, if you pay.
I know, but I don't think Gina would have, would do something like that. Okay, so the court date was the 18th of February. Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
What did McGilded know? What did he know? Not a name I expected to hear in these circumstances. Mr. Sholmes, I'm afraid there's something very troubling on my mind. Pray tell, Miss Susato. Well, according to what Mr. Windibank told us earlier, today was the final day on which the coat could have been redeemed, was it not? Yes, ma'am, that is correct. Today would be precisely 2 months since it was first deposited. Well, today is 15th of April, so 2 months ago today. Would have been 15th February, sir, that's right. It's all carefully recorded in my ledger. Deposit at 10:30 p.m., I see. What, but that suggests... Yes, the 15th of February is precisely the day on which the omnibus murder took place. And 10:30 in the evening is precisely the time in which the terrible events were unfolding.
Where did music, but like a recording of like all the people that he's got things against.
McGilded wasn't even in the fucking carriage.
Hmm?
McGilded wasn't even in the fucking carriage. Precisely the time in which the terrible events were unfolding. He couldn't have been the murderer because he was here depositing the coat!
Or was it someone else?
Either him or Gina.
Possible Gina.
I don't think it was Gina, though, because she was picking it up for him. I need to put on clothes. I'm freezing.
Yes, for everyone at home, just know that my husband is naked.
What? Naked?
Not anymore.
Did you fix the button?
Oh, well, I haven't.
This is not. It's the other pair. Okay.
Make sure to work on that tomorrow. I'll head to Joann's and grab some better thread.
Okay. There it is. Seems the matter is entirely beyond coincidence. You are, of course, at liberty to make whatever outlandish deductions you choose. However, I have a gun.